Welcome to the Ascension Path with Twin Essence. I'm Lacey.
And I'm Marley, and we're your Starseed Lightworker and Psychic Medium hosts.
We're identical twins with spiritual abilities and Starseed missions on Earth. On the Ascension Path, we discuss what it's like to be identical twins serving in a spiritual capacity and provide insights into our work as Starseeds. We create a sacred space to receive channeled messages, intuitive teachings, and expansive conversations that elevate your frequency and support your evolution. Join us to learn about navigating the path to Ascension and becoming the most authentic, aligned version of you. Take what resonates and leave the rest. In this episode, we want to do a deep dive into discovering your Starseed purpose and mission. This is something that we've been receiving messages on, and from our star families, they just want us to cover what a mission is and what a purpose is and how you can dig into learning more about that on your path.
I think it's probably best to start with missions and understanding what they are. So mission and purpose, understanding what both are, because they do actually have different meanings. If we start off looking at missions, missions are typically going to be like an assignment in this lifetime. So it's going to be what you came to achieve in this lifetime. When we think about starseed missions more specifically, oftentimes souls as starseeds are incarnating on Earth, and their assignment is going to be that they need to serve in a specific capacity. So this could be through a spiritual healing modality that they're serving humanity, and it could even be like serving as a disruptor in a corporate environment. So there's quite a spectrum of what these missions can look like for starseed souls incarnating on Earth. And I would say it's really on that spectrum of polarity. So more positive side, serving humanity, versus maybe what's seen as a more negative side, which is really serving self. We won't dig too much into polarities and missions and purposes in this episode, but just so you understand that there is a spectrum on what these missions typically look like for starseed souls.
Yes, and I think it's important to note that a starseed mission doesn't always have to be this woo-woo like spiritual purpose. It does serve a spiritual purpose ultimately, but sometimes they have you serving in more of a human type role, and it's not like to be this esoteric leader or serving and healing someone in a spiritual modality. Sometimes it's like she said, being a corporate disruptor. Sometimes it might be being a talking head for an organization. It could be being a teacher. So it's just different missions have different purposes to help humans ascend and to help Gaia. And that's what Starseeds ultimately are here for.
Yep. And I would say too, again, on that spectrum, you could also view it as like dimensional, being more 3D based missions for humanity versus more 5D missions for humanity as starseed souls.
Yes. And then when we start looking at purpose, purpose is really the reason that something's being done. So that's going to be the reason the mission is being carried out, the reason behind all of it. That's what a purpose is. For example, let's say someone has a starseed purpose, and that's to help humans heal. Their mission might be to serve in a spiritual capacity to help humans heal. Or they brought a specific gift with them in this incarnation that's going to help them achieve this purpose on Earth. So think of missions as the overarching assignment, and the purpose is the reason the mission is being done.
Yeah, and I think this is where it gets a little bit complex at times in understanding, right? We understand that the mission is this assignment, their purpose is the why behind the assignment. Some souls are going to have both a purpose and a mission. We'll talk about it a little bit, but Lacey and I have both a purpose and a mission. Some souls are going to have very multifaceted missions. So missions that are going to have multiple parts and be very complex in what they're assigned out in this contract that they have in this lifetime. And some might not have a mission at all. They might only have a purpose. So they might only have this purpose or this reason that they're incarnating here on Earth during this time. It might be up to them to explore a little bit and figure out what path they want to take. That's certainly a possibility for souls in this lifetime.
Yes, and like you said, sometimes it's a choose your own path, like a soul incarnates with a purpose, but they get to choose how they're going to serve that purpose and it's not determined for them. Like that's very possible. There are lots of souls here like that. And when we start to get into our experiences with Starseed purpose and missions from the sessions that we do with clients and our own, we're going to start looking at purpose first. In our experience, Starseeds all incarnate on Earth for different reasons. There are a lot of common purposes that typically revolve around raising Gaia's vibration, spreading light, healing humans, activating light codes and energies in Gaia's grid or in humans. These are some of the common starseed purposes that we've seen.
And I would say too, again, relating back, these are purposes that starseeds have, but their mission could be very specific in how they are to achieve that. It could be achieved through being a radical political figure, or it could be achieved quite literally through a spiritual healing modality like Lacey and I. When we started diving into our starseed purpose and missions, it was, I would say, very complex and yet simple all at the same time for us. I think it was quite an uncovering of a part of ourself. We often refer to our starseed activations or awakenings as being this uncovering on our identity and our paths. But I think to distill it down, our mission really is to create twin essence and to serve in this spiritual capacity on Earth on a large scale for humanity as we think about ascension. Now, the purpose behind our mission is going to be to serve as these collective guides to others on their path to ascension. This looks a little bit different for, I guess, for us and how we want to achieve that and how we want to serve as guides. And ultimately, we're helping humanity heal and transition to New Earth in doing this. So when I think about how we're achieving our purpose and mission, Lacey and I do this in a number of ways. It's through our one-on-ones with clients, it's through this podcast and sharing information with humanity, sharing information with others on their paths. It's also through traveling and the activating of different codes that we do. And I know we've talked about that on previous episodes, but it's all related back to that mission and purpose that we have. And understanding that mission and purpose has really helped us figure out the how so that we're able to better live in alignment and continue on our own path of ascension.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of value in looking at your purpose and mission in this current incarnation. It really does help you understand the gifts that you came here with, and it helps you live in alignment with why you're actually here. So, even for us, uncovering our purpose and mission was really critical, and understanding that our mission, while it sounds kind of simple, is much more complex than we realize. There's different parts of it, and there's some solo things for each of us to fulfill, and then there's the shared mission and contract with each other, and how we actually fulfill that purpose of guiding others on the path to ascension. And like Marley mentioned, that happens in everything that we do through Twin Essence. That happens in our travel and activating light codes. We're working with Gaia and preparing her and humanity for New Earth through these activations. We're learning new skills that are going to help us serve humans and the clients that we work with their ascension journeys. And that's the whole point of what we do, is to learn from our experiences and be able to help other people going through similar experiences and help them understand and uncover why they're here, what does it mean, how do they live a life in alignment with their purpose and mission, and how do they ultimately ascend while they're here. Because that's what we're here to do, is to help humans ascend. I think that we all incarnate with different gifts when we're brought here, and that is what helps you fulfill the mission and purpose. And in our case, being psychic mediums and starseed light workers, these are part of our gifts to help us fulfill our mission and purpose. We channel these light beings that help us carry out our work and ultimately work towards that greater assignment that we're on here on Earth.
I agree. I think it really is that quite literally applying it. That's what we brought with us. That's what our contract is. And obviously, as you mentioned, it's multifaceted. We have multiple parts to our mission and purpose. We even have parts that are together and parts that are different. That's very specific to our soul contracts. I think, too, recognizing that not only are the purposes and missions going to look different for everybody, but also the gifts will too. So some people are going to be more 3D focused. It could be their gift is that they're teaching others, whether that's on a 3D scale or a 5D scale. It could be that their gift is they know how to work with earth to grow food and provide for others. That's what they came here to do, and that's how they're fulfilling their purpose and or mission. It could also be that they're an artist, right? Like they're just here inspiring humanity, creating in this lifetime. So there's quite a spectrum too on what those gifts can look like. Some of them are going to be that more 3D focus, while some are going to seem more 5D, but ultimately those gifts are existing in this lifetime to help them continue to achieve that purpose. And if they have a mission, achieve that mission. It's a really beautiful thing to discover and go through that process of self-discovery and learning your gifts, learning how you can use them, and finding that why behind what you do in this lifetime.
I think other gifts that people incarnate with can look like being able to build things and create things, or coming to Earth to specifically create some piece of technology or a new way of being and growing. Sometimes they're here to create a new belief system or thought process for humans to engage in and interact with and understand in a better way. So we all have very different purposes. And like Marley was saying, some are more 3D, some are more 5D, but they are special gifts that ultimately help us carry out a purpose and maybe even a special assignment from your cosmic family.
Even think about it, like reflect on history a little bit as it relates to purposes we've seen throughout humanity. I think about the Renaissance time period and like this mass explosion of creation and art and expression happening that happened for a reason, for humanity, right? To continue to evolve. I think about other missions and purposes that are more 3D, right? Like Industrial Revolution. Just thinking about the advancements that we've seen over time in history, like the radical religious leaders or radical political leaders, like just the different spectrums and all these souls incarnating for this purpose. Look at where it has taken humanity today.
Inventing electricity, the light bulb, new
Yeah.
cooking techniques for food, theater, acting, music, different instruments people have created. It's all a form of creation and ultimately is what keeps people connected to each other. So it advances civilization, but it's also about having people connect with one another.
I mean, it's even as simple as we talk about the different polarities a little bit briefly. We're not going to go too in depth on it, but I even think about like Typhoid Mary. She came with that purpose, you know what I mean? Or that mission. Think about it's all on this spectrum, right? That we see happening, and think about how much it has pushed humanity forward, even when it seems like a really negative thing, right? Because you might be sitting back identifying as this being of love and light, but there is duality, right? There's duality in this lifetime, and there's duality in that ascension process as well, which again is another topic that we can go on and on about forever. But that is that spectrum, right? And I think it's just important to really understand like there is a spectrum that all of us are on, and you see this in many different ways.
I do want to bring up an example that Spirit is nudging me to bring up, and it reminds me of a year ago, we were watching a documentary on Jack the Ripper, and it's obviously a very famous murderer, serial killer, whatever you want to refer to it as, who was murdering these women, and they had all these different things in common. But the reason I bring this up is because during the viewing of that documentary, I was reflecting on it. I was asking some questions that Spirit was giving me information on the case, but I was thinking more about the purpose of that soul who incarnated to essentially be this famous serial killer that nobody caught. Think about what a massive impact that had on culture and how that person was put here to do something horrible. But it's something we still talk about as humans after it's been how many years? So even negative purposes and positive purposes or missions, they can leave a lasting impact on society and on humans. And look at how there are cases and people and beings that we're still talking about to this day. It's the same thing. They're also bringing up the famous Bigfoot sighting, and I can't remember the name of what they call that one, but it's the female Bigfoot that was walking
Yep.
by a
The
river.
famous.
Think about how we all talk about that till this day. And I know there's going to be people out there that are like, well, that was faked or that was this. I'm not going to get into any of that, but I'm just using it as an example of something that society is fascinated with and still talks about. And think about the purpose that serves.
I think about, like, in the case of mass crimes or murders like that, look at how it changed how humanity viewed their safety. Look at how it changed how they viewed the judicial system, how they viewed discernment in their interactions with others in the world. And even in Bigfoot, right, reflecting back on it opened some people's minds. And for other people, maybe it made them more skeptical. Maybe it showed other people where they were uncomfortable with a belief system outside of a structured government, maybe.
I think the big thing that they're wanting us to bring through is also this concept of good and bad and how humanity defines things as I'm doing something good or I'm doing something bad. Same with positive and negative. It's sometimes hard to use those terms when you do the work that we do because it's ultimately made up words that are trying to assign a meaning to something and a meaning to an experience. And sometimes a very tragic experience, someone says it's really negative, and I can't disagree with that. But it's ultimately an experience that you signed up to go through and that's teaching you something in some way or teaching society something in some way. So, kind of becoming a little bit of a channeled message in this podcast episode, but that's what they want us to bring up is a little bit of looking at how you're defining good and bad, looking at how you're defining positive versus negative, and thinking about the bigger societal things that are happening and the purpose and reason behind them. I think this is a whole different topic that would require some starseed transmissions and channeling from Marley and I, but it's even something to keep in mind with where things are going astrologically and in society right now. So there's reasons it's happening, and sometimes it's hard for some of us to actually look at what positive is coming out of something, but there is positive coming out of it, whether you see
Mhm.
it and realize it or not.
I think it's about the trauma or the tragedy and learning that lesson in it, or really reaching a point of comfortability or acceptance when something like that happens. It's not that you need to be resigned and depressed. I think, yes, definitely feel the emotions and go through that cycle, but also recognize what that experience brought you, right? Recognize what you learned from that. Not completely shutting yourself off, but maybe it is showing you where you do want to pull back and shut yourself off. And why is that? Maybe you should try something different. Maybe you should try practicing forgiveness and unconditional love. I'm not saying that applies to every situation, of course. There's definitely boundaries and circumstances and context that goes into all situations. But I think when we've really gone through some heavy time periods, I don't even like using the word traumatic or tragedy, even though I do think in the moment it probably felt like that at times for us. I think of it as reaching that point of acceptance of I can still reflect back and say I would have liked to have experienced this person still. I would have liked to have had that animal in my life rather than not. So, what is it teaching me now? And really going deep into that and absorbing what comes through as I sit with that in the heart space.
Just to bring this full circle, doing this self reflection and understanding experiences that we go through, all of that connects back to what you're learning and developing for your purpose and your mission, right? All of that's going to ultimately help you with ascension, but also help you with fulfilling your purpose and mission. Whether you realize it or not, it's making you a stronger, the word soldier is what's coming to me, and I don't really like it, but it's making you the stronger soldier to carry out that purpose and that mission and the task that at hand that you're incarnated to do.
Absolutely. It's crazy how related it all is as you start to really dig deeper into your healing journey and your ascension process through all the duality you're experiencing during this, right? I mean, we'll talk about this more in depth, but it's not all rainbows and sunshine, right? And as you go through that, it's crazy how you can find where it's all related. Just me mentioning like heavy time periods Lacey and I have gone through with some really difficult experiences, whether it's through relationships with others or death and grief. It's like this deepening on our purpose and mission and our gifts, I would say. It's just really all related and finding out more details and dimensions to that than you ever even realize were related.
I will say you're probably going to hear us say this more than one time, but every time I am going through something, I always anchor back in to knowing that whatever I'm going through, no matter how positive or negative it is, it's ultimately going to help me serve in a much deeper capacity than I already am. Or it's going to become someone's survival guide, right? My lessons, my experiences that I'm sharing with others, that's going to help someone survive something similar or understand and view it in a different way, whatever they're going through. So we always anchor back into that path of service and how that's going to ultimately help us help you with a similar experience. So that's really what we do.
I think that's why it's so important to discover that purpose and mission, right? It's going to help you heal, align, and ascend. But understanding your purpose and mission is really going to help you heal and understand your experiences further. And then when you do go through those difficult times, like Lacey just said, you're able to remind yourself again, actually, this is going to help me with this purpose I'm trying to achieve, or this is going to help me with the mission I'm trying to achieve. And it helps you become very clear in how you can live in alignment when you discover parts of your identity and your origins as a starseed, or even just discovering what your purpose and mission are, even if you're not a starseed in this, or even if you're not a starseed incarnate, it helps you figure out how to live in alignment and what needs to change in your life. Just because you discovered this stuff doesn't mean you have to change everything you're doing. It's just going to help guide you find those missing pieces of yourself and make you feel more whole so that you're able to go a little bit deeper.
And sometimes it does take a while to actually connect what you're going through back to that purpose and mission once you have it. You might think, wow, how does this relate to what I'm doing? But it does, even if you can't see it fully. It's the same thing with when you start trusting your intuition. Sometimes people describe it as it feels weird or you don't understand why you're making a decision that you're making. But then later it comes full circle and you'll understand and see the full picture. So that's the same thing with mission and purpose. Once you discover it, you can tie a lot of experiences and things that you're doing and actions you're taking back to that purpose and mission and what you're carrying out. But sometimes you have something happen where you're like, I don't really understand why they're having me do this, or I don't really understand why I'm going through this yet. And later it'll come to you, but in that moment, it might be delayed or it might not make sense. Mission and purpose is ultimately here to help you understand that you're not meant to fit in. So, Starseed mission and purpose, ultimately, that makes you feel better. You understand that you're not meant to fit in. You understand that you came here on Earth for a specific reason. It doesn't have to change your whole life trajectory, but it can help you live in alignment. It can help you ascend. You choose what you do with it.
And this is really what we do, especially when we're in twin magic sessions with clients. These sessions are a little bit of everything, right? It includes that starseed discovery, it includes where to find more alignment, and it also includes how you can further your ascension. So, looking at your energy, looking at what you're doing, looking at your belief systems, where you can deepen your healing and what you're experiencing. When we work in these sessions, they really help uncover your cosmic connections and help you understand that purpose and mission, help you understand if there is anything different you should be doing or whether it's just understanding how to work with those guides on your team.
Yeah, and a lot of clients come out of those with a better understanding of where they maybe didn't realize they were connected to their star family before, or the breadcrumbs from childhood that indicated they had cosmic connections. So it's a little bit of that starseed origin discovery, and it can be a very validating experience for some. For some, maybe they don't know and they're just curious and wanting to engage further, and then they have a better understanding of why they incarnated and what they came here to do. It's all personalized and a little different for everybody, but these are the experiences that can help you with your ascension path and can help you raise your vibration. It helps you reconnect with your inner truth, your knowing, your intuition. It helps you uncover the parts of your soul that were always there, but maybe you didn't realize it, or maybe you didn't give it attention. Maybe it's that little part of your soul that was dying for you to rediscover it and connect with it again. So it's really about connecting all those puzzle pieces and bringing them together for a client in a session and helping them with the alignment and ascension pieces.
And once you have those pieces, you can really anchor to them. And it's going to help your alignment and your ascension process move a little bit easier, I think.
Gives you the understanding that you need. I know for us, when we discovered our mission and purpose and why we're here, and we do have different parts of the mission, it changed the game. It helped us understand why we were here and why we were doing what we were doing. It helped remotivate us and keep us on the path, and ultimately was a really magical and validating experience. It explained a lot of childhood experiences. It really provided a lot of clarity that we needed on our journeys.
And now we move forward, we walk the path with that knowing and trust. That doesn't mean that we're never going to falter and that we're never going to have time periods where it's hard or it's difficult, but ultimately, we're able to examine that. If it comes up, we're able to work through it.
One piece of advice that they are giving me right now is you can always ask yourself when you're making a decision, does this support my purpose and mission? Does it support what I'm here to do? And if the answer is yes, there's your answer. If the answer is yes, but I'm not sure I understand how, it's still a yes. If the answer is I don't think it does, well, let's dig into that a little bit and self-reflect if it's unconfident. If the answer is no, this isn't something I should be doing because it doesn't have anything to do with why I'm here.
Then why are you doing it?
Yes, but if the answer is no, it doesn't have anything to do with it, but it's fun, then you should still be doing it if it's fun.
Yeah, that's a good point. It doesn't mean that every time you say no, you should automatically not be doing it, but it's about learning that alignment, that discernment through alignment, and feeling into it energetically. Does this feel right? Does this not feel right? Why do I feel the way I do? If I feel like it's a no, or if I feel like it's draining me, or if I feel like I'm dreading it, why is that? There could be a deeper healing lesson in there, or it could be just as simple as putting your energy towards it, right? But there's a process to that, and you can really unpack a lot through that process and through learning what's in alignment and what's not.
If you're hearing this right now, like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to unpack that or what to look at, that's why we're here with Twin Essence. That's why you book the Twin Magic reading. That's why you work with us. We can help you with uncovering that voice and using discernment and understanding that a little bit better with your purpose and mission. It all comes full circle, but we wanted to bring through that little activity, and this ended up being a little more channeled and guided than we anticipated, but it's something that will ultimately help you with your path.
Make sure you check out our website, twinessence.com, if you're looking to book a session with us or dig a little bit deeper into your ascension and alignment process, or Starseed discovery on that mission and purpose piece. You can also like, comment, and share on YouTube.
With that, we hope you all have a fun time uncovering your purpose and your mission.